Good news, Michael. Fantastic news, in fact. Do you like the TV series Breaking Bad?
Yeah, it was pretty good.
Well, Bryan Cranston and Aaron Paul have returned as Walter White and Jesse. I don't know why Jesse doesn't get a surname. Jesse Pinkman, obviously. In a Super Bowl ad.
Yes.
For Popcorners. So shall we listen to that?
Oh, I'd like to listen. Yeah, I didn't realize you could listen to it.
Yo, this is a bomb.
And they're air pop, not fried.
Popcorners. You're an artist.
Actually, Jesse, it's just basic ingredients. No, we don't eat our own supply.
Mr. White.
Jesse.
Everyone's gonna want to taste. And I know just the guy to talk to.
What are these?
We call them popcorners.
Say their name.
Get it?
Yeah, this is good.
Popcorners.
He's eating them.
Tight!
Yeah. Oh, wow.
How much of this stuff
Tuco.
do you have?
We've got 6 signature flavors, Joe.
7! You make 7!
7.
7 works.
Yeah.
Popcorners. Break into something good.
We're gonna eat a lot of snacks together.
I'm glad that Jesse and Walt are back, you know. I don't think either of them have, Bryan Cranston and Aaron Paul have done anything better since Breaking Bad. So it's good that they're back. But yeah, this is what I love, man, about the Super Bowl, which is, of course, in a couple of days from when this is uploaded. The thing is, these ads are just like the most awful, just cringiest ads possible, and they cost like $30 million.
Yeah,
it's fucking incredible. I love it, man. There's nothing else like it.
No, yeah, that's what I like about. I thought that it was only people who hated sports who their favorite part of the Super Bowl was the commercials. But I'm glad to see that you finally turned to the dark side.
Greatest show on earth.
Hello and welcome to Select and Reflect, the movie review podcast where we look at films that have come out in the near and distant past. We give them a couple of watches and evaluate them beyond first impressions. I'm your host Michael, and I'm joined as always by my co-host Luke, and this week we are celebrating the release of Ant-Man Quantumania by looking at Ant-Man and the Wasp. So Luke, why don't you tell us a thing or two about Ant-Man and the Wasp?
Wait, what did you call the first movie? Sorry, the movie that's coming out?
Quantumania?
Yeah, but what was the full title?
Ant-Man Quantumania.
No, you see, you fucking sexist bastard.
It's Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania.
Why are you getting rid of Evangeline Lilly's character?
Yeah, sorry.
The memorable,
first of all, the Hobbit fans, and now me.
The memorable Wasp. Yeah. Now, she was one of the best parts of Lost, which, of course, rhymes with Wasp.
It kind of doesn't, but it kind of does.
No, it kind of does. Wasp, Lost. Come on.
Yeah. Like, you would get away with it in a rap. But,
absolutely.
Yeah,
and that's all that matters. But so yeah, that's the thing. She was in the last movie. She's in this movie. She doesn't really have that massive a role in this movie, to be honest, to justify being a titular character.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I mean, she's obviously there. You know, it's not the biggest, disgrace.
But she was there in the last movie too. So yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You know, it's not about her. She's like the 5th most important character of this movie.
It would be like if they called it Ant-Man and the guy who runs the security camera firm. And, even though when he was in it just as much as he's been in all the previous films. Yeah,
exactly. Like Ant-Man and the Wasp, it implies there's something big happening with the Wasp's character. I mean, we're really reviewing the movie here, but you pointed it out and it's just made me think, oh yeah, like the Wasp, what does she do? She just does everything that Ant-Man does. It's not about her really, it's about getting back her mother. So you'd say Ant-Man and the Janet, whatever she was called when she was...
Ant-Man and the Janet.
Ant-Man and the Janet, getting the rescuing Janet. Ant-Man and the Quantum Realm would probably be a better title because that's what it's all about. But then you couldn't. The next one couldn't be called Quantumania because then it's too similar. And we know how Marvel absolutely hate to call their movies similar names, as we can see from the Spider-Man movies, can't we?
Yes.
Tell me immediately, what is the second Spider-Man movie called?
Yeah, just Far From Home. You just got to stick that home in there.
Oh, you know it. Oh yeah. And the third one, what's it called?
Away From Home, Long Way Home, No Way Home.
There we go. See, I did see. I was like, oh shit, maybe it's just me not remembering them right. So, Ant-Man and the Wasp is a 2018 American superhero film based on the Marvel Comics characters of the same name. So, Ant-Man, who is of course Scott Lang, and Hope Pym, which is such a weird name.
Hope Pym, I'm hoping.
Who is of course Wasp. And the thing is, she does not look like a Wasp either, now I'm thinking about it.
Yeah, she doesn't at all. But hold on a minute, now I'm thinking about it. Wasn't the guy in the last film, the villain in the last film, called Yellow Jacket?
He was, yes.
Which is kind of like the quintessential kind of Wasp.
Yes.
Like, that's the archetypal Wasp, is a Yellow Jacket. So they really screwed up there.
Yeah, I mean, just have her costume be, yellow and black, Like, at least Ant-Man's costume's red. Her costume's like this dark greyish colour, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
So, I mean, that's stupid as well.
Yeah.
Basically, they messed up the Wasp aspect.
Yeah, I'm looking at, because I wanted to remind myself, I'm looking at what Yellow Jacket looked like in the first film, and he looks so much more like a Wasp.
Yeah, I mean, he looks, because he's got yellow in it.
Yeah.
Yellow jacket, that would fit. But yeah, I mean, she, is she even called the Wasp at one stage in this movie?
I don't think so.
I mean, it's just such a lazy, considering she's a titular character, the costume isn't paid any attention to, and neither is her actual character, in the movie, considering everything, considering she's on the bloody title. And to be honest, in the trailer for Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, she isn't in it at all, really. It's about Ant-Man and fucking, what's it called? Kang,
Maybe it's the movie producers who are sexist.
Of course, this movie is a sequel to Ant-Man in 2015, and is the what film in the Marvel Cinematic Universe? What number?
The 21st.
That is the incorrect answer. The answer is the 20th.
Oh, really? I was way closer than I thought, to be fair.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you were quite close. And of course, I think this is the first movie set after not set after Endgame. This is the first movie released after... No, Infinity War, sorry.
Yeah. So this kind of filled in the gap. And then I guess it was this and Captain Marvel, probably?
Well, it didn't fill in the gap, of course, because if you've seen the movie, you would realise that.
No, yeah, sorry, yeah. It's set before... It's set before Infinity War, obviously.
Yeah. To be fair, during. Yeah, kind of during, yeah. It does establish the quantum realm as something, So that is there. Anyway, so let's get into all the details. So this movie was directed by Peyton Reed, based on Ant-Man.
Did you just say Peyton Manning?
No, that's a good Super Bowl reference, though.
Thank you.
Do you know how many bowls did he win that was Super?
3.
No, only 2.
Ah.
So
I was close.
The movie stars Paul Rudd, oh god, there's a lot of people who star in this. Christ. Evangeline Lilly, Michael Pena, Walter Goggins, Bobby Cannavale, Judy Greer, T.I. Harris, David Dastmalchian, hopefully I said that right, Hannah John Carmen, Abby Ryder Fortson, Randall Park, Michelle Pfeiffer, Lawrence Fishburne, and Michael Douglas.
I'm so glad that I said the security camera guy, because I was 100% going to say John Leguizamo, or John Leguizamo. Because I'm one of those, I get them confused. Michael Pena, John Leguizamo, same person. It's Cuba Gooding Jr. and the other guy.
Okay. Anyway, the movie was released on July the 6th, 2018 in the United States. And Michael, can you tell me what the budget was for Ant-Man and the Wasp?
Yes, it was 180 million.
Okay, that's not a bad guess. I mean, it's between 130 and 195, so you were relatively close. And can you guess the box office? Well, I mean, you're relatively close. You got in between those, But yeah, you didn't hit any of them bang on. You know what I mean? It was a fine guess. Don't worry about it. So, what about the box office?
Well, okay, so on the one hand, I'm kind of I don't think people care about this series that much. On the other hand, I'm sort of it did have some kind of purpose. It was between the point where there was a lot of hype. I'm still not going to go that high. I think it made... I still might go over, though. 550 million.
Okay, not a bad guess. The actual answer is 622.
Okay.
And that's the thing, this movie... Again, it is Ant-Man, which is why it's weird that this Quantumania, apparently it's got a massive budget. Apparently it's going to be a very influential movie in the MCU. It's not going to be a funny comedy movie, which kind of... Yeah. It is set up to fail, rather, with a bigger budget and the fact that they're apparently going for a different tone compared to the other two movies, which is kind of the appeal of Ant-Man and Paul Rudd. But yeah, the first movie made 519, this one 622. But again, it's incredible, even though, of course, a lot of Marvel movies do better, that a sequel to Ant-Man can generate this much money, isn't it? That's kind of crazy. It just shows the power of the MCU. At least back in 2018, because of course this was its heyday, 2018-19. So, Michael, can you tell me whether you liked Ant-Man and the Wasp?
Okay, yeah. So it was kind of like, on the one hand, like, it wasn't awful. I feel like nowadays, because obviously we're kind of post anybody caring about Marvel, they're not making any money anymore. Even the films from when, you know, there was some hype around it, in retrospect, you kind of are like, oh yeah, it's Marvel. And I do think that the central conflict of the film was a little bit ridiculous, which I think we'll probably get into. I do think that this film had the fun going for it, in an appropriate context, and I did like that. Overall, I would say that I found this film average, and if I had to go one way, I would probably say slightly worse than average. But it was still, it was average.
Okay, I think that this movie, yeah, it's the quintessential, or should I say quantum essential? Not really, no, I shouldn't say that. Like, average Marvel movie. Like, it is the most Marvel of the Marvel movies.
Yeah.
And to be honest, maybe I have said that before, you know, when reviewing Marvel movies.
So that for every single Marvel movie.
Well, because they are all the same. So
yeah.
But this one especially, the Ant-Man series, because remember, we reviewed Ant-Man 2015 back when Ant-Man and the Wasp came out, so this would be like, 4.5 years ago.
Yeah.
One of our first reviews, probably.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I remember thinking, watching that movie, this is average. Do you remember?
Yeah, I'm not sure what I would have rated it. I probably rated it a 5. Like, I can almost guarantee I rated it a 5.
For me, I gave it a 6 out of 10, which fits just beautifully. Because yeah, it's an average movie. It's an average Marvel.
More like
movie.
an Ant-ridge movie.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. I don't think that works as well as my pun I did about quintessential. Anyway, the point is that these Ant-Man movies are average, and they're designed to be average. They're
stylistically designed to be that way.
Yeah, it literally, yes, they are stylistically designed to be very average. They are, you know, you have these moments of fun, these moments of levity every now and again, but you've still got an action movie with some science bullshit thrown in there. And, you know, you're trying to make it fun. You're trying to make it a bit serious as well, at parts. And yeah, basically that it's the Marvel formula, you know, in its purest form, really. And that formula, to be fair, helps, you know, again, fucking Ant-Man, a sequel to Ant-Man grossed $622 million, which again, imagine if you tried that like 10 years ago, you know, because they don't pay a lot of attention to the plot. The plot's just there because it has to be there, but it's not like shockingly bad. But you know, you can tell they didn't take much care with it, which again is the case with a lot of Marvel movies. So yeah, it is at the end of the day a good product. You know, and that is where I
yeah. And I feel like, I don't know, maybe it's kind of easy to tell that they were prioritizing, or like they were aware of like the fact that this film lies between these like two other massive films. This film's kind of like very almost like self-aware and like it's kind of backup or kind of like discount kind of position of just being like a supporting role to these much bigger films.
Yeah, you are right. Around this time, they were doing very big stuff. You know, every year, really, they had a massive movie coming out in between 2015 and 2019. 2015, you had Avengers. 2016, Civil War, which was basically another Avengers. And then 2017, Spider-Man Homecoming was not really that big, kind of was. You had Tony Stark in it. Then, of course, 1819, the two Avengers movies. So, yeah, this was in the mix of all that. But, yeah, again, it's just a bog-standard Marvel movie. Marvel movies are generally, nowadays, very much like...
theme park rides.
Well, I was going to say factory-produced.
Yeah.
You know, and this is an encapsulation of that. And which is a bit weird with Quantumania, because they're making it a bit bigger. You know, they're going for a bigger swing. You know, swing towards the fences. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that'll make that a bit interesting, to be fair. But anyway, Michael, let's get into nitpicks. How many do you have?
I have 2.
So I have 1, so I'll go first. So when Scott Lang shrinks, you know, when he's in school, you know, you remember that scene? Yeah. He is too small. Like, he's a couple of feet too small to be a kid in elementary school.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking that too.
Yeah, he's like as tall as a toddler. Like, you know, they got their proportions wrong there, which was weird. But yeah, that's my nitpick. Yeah,
so my ones, I'm not going to lie, this first one I wrote when I first watched the film, and as you know, I watched this film a week before we were supposed to, and I'm now realizing that I can't tell what this first nitpick is supposed to mean. This is what I wrote. The guy who sells stuff just happens to have been informed by the FBI the day that Scott shows up. Oh wait, I know what it is. I know what I'm talking about. It's the like the kind of southern businessman
Walter
who she
Goggins.
meets at the restaurant. Yeah. Obviously that twist about like him like refusing to agree with her, like this is a guy who they've had like an on and off relationship with for some while, and yet it just so happens that the first time Scott's there, now he's been informed by the FBI that something's up. So it's just an example of like a plot convenience, like so yeah, whatever.
Which for me is why it was more than a nitpick.
Oh,
because
really?
as you said, it was a plot convenience.
Yeah.
Which again is bad writing.
Bad writing. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. The next one, and this one is mostly just a nitpick because it's a question, which is, and you probably won't have an answer to this either, but maybe it is explained at some point. What is the logic of why you don't need a suit to shrink when you're in a car or a building? Because it's a bit weird, because you need suits to shrink, but then also there's cars and buildings where you can be inside them and you can just shrink because you're inside them. I don't know, like I feel like that seems
imagine
weird to me.
there's some
like force field.
Yeah, I mean,
maybe?
you're nitpicking like some sci-fi bullshit here.
Yeah, I know. Just seems
It's
like,
like
a
that-
bit weird that you're looking at all these shrinky people and you're like, oh man, they don't have to wear suits.
Well, yeah, I mean, the explanation would be, there's like a force field around the car. Well, it's not a force field, but you can imagine something similar to a force
Yeah.
field around a car or a building that fucking Hank Pym designs. And so therefore everything inside gets small,
Yes.
Just everything in this box shrinks to a certain size. So yeah, that would be the explanation. But of course it's ridiculous, but hey, it's that's the whole premise of these movies. So you just go along with it, of course. So anyway, Michael, let's get into the plot/concept of Ant-Man and the Wasp. So, as Scott Lang balances being both a superhero and a father, Hope Van Dyne, what a great name,
Yeah.
and what does Michael Caine say in that Austin Powers movie?
Oh, you
hate
crazy Dutch bastard.
Well, he's like, I hate people discriminating.
Oh, sorry, that one. Yeah. There's two things I can't stand.
Yeah.
People who are intolerant of other people's cultures and the Dutch.
Yeah, I also hate the Dutch. Actually, no, I love Eric Ten Hag, so I'm not sure really.
I like Van Persie.
Do you? Even though he betrayed Arsenal?
Yeah, I don't really care.
Yeah,
I just thought like I was trying to remember a
Oh.
Dutch person who played for Arsenal, but
Yeah,
obviously,
you were trying to join in with the football.
yeah, I was
banter.
trying to join in.
Yeah, you should have gone for Mark Overmars. Anyway, so Dr. Hank Pym and Hope Van Dyne, basically, yes, shit's going on with them. He wants his wife back from the quantum realm. They present an urgent new mission that finds the Ant-Man fighting alongside the Wasp to uncover secrets from their past. In Ant-Man and the Wasp, the titular pair work with Hank Pym, played of course by Michael Douglas,
Yes.
to retrieve Janet Van Dyne from the quantum realm. They say quantum realm so much. Again, this is why it should be Ant-Man and the quantum realm.
Yeah.
It's all about the quantum realm. You got to get to the quantum realm. Everyone's got to get to the quantum realm. To Janet, somebody wants to save Janet, which is of course Ant-Man and the Wasp. They want to save Janet, and then this ghost character wants to destroy. No, she wants to take the quantum energy from Janet. I was thinking at various points in the movie, so they're all after this lab that they can get to the quantum realm to, that can be shrunk in size. And I was like, I criticised the movie at one point for using that as a MacGuffin, which we'll get into, and just the lab is just going all over the place.
Yeah.
Between like the FBI, between Ghost, that character Ava, between what's he called, the Walter Goggins character.
Yeah.
5 points if you can get Walter Goggins' character's name right, Michael.
Sam, Bert,
No.
Bub, Buddy, TJ.
What? TJ?
Yeah, TJ.
It's not TJ, it's Birch.
Oh, I was close then. Yay.
What did you say?
I
again?
said Bert, which was the closest I got.
Oh, yeah, no, what? Yeah, you are close. His first name's Sonny. So, memorable MCU character Sonny Birch.
Oh, so I said Sam and I said Bert, so I'm sticking to it.
Okay, you shouldn't, but yeah. So yeah, they're after this lab as well. So that and obviously, the fucking trio are heroes. They're after the lab because they have the lab in the first place. So you got 4 people after the lab. But I'm like, oh yeah, Janet, what's she called? Van Dyne also acts as a as a freaking MacGuffin as well. You just realise, because that's what they're trying to get. Ava's trying to get to her. They're trying to get to her to rescue her. So yeah, it's really, again, the plot is really quite simple, isn't it? Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of characters, and so it seems like, oh yeah, a lot of shit's happening because you got a lot of different elements. But at the end of the day, everyone wants the lab for different reasons, and people want to get to Janet Van Dyne for different reasons.
Yeah.
The FBI and Sonny Birch don't want to get to her. They just want the lab. Or the FBI just want to capture Hank and fucking Evangeline Lilly.
Yes, like this is, it feels like, and I don't know, like we'll probably get into kind of like the villains and like the nature of the whole thing, but like it literally kind of feels like a kid's show with like this aspect of, it's almost like, you feel like the message of this film is like, just share. Because it's almost like almost every single person in this film, they don't even need the lab, a lot of them, for kind of mutually exclusive reasons. Like, they can all get their kind of purposes out of it. Not all of them, but a lot of them.
Well, that's the thing. The conflict does arise from the fact that... We'll get into it when we talk about, Ava's conflict, or Ghost, whatever she's called. Fucking Janet Van Dyne. Everyone's trying to get someone, right? Everyone's trying to get after someone.
Yeah.
It's a real game of hide and seek.
Everybody needs somebody.
Yeah, it's a real game of hide and seek, isn't it? Like
it reminds me of the scene where in what's it called, Indiana Jones and the Temple of the Crystal Skull, when everyone's just like throwing the skull around between like the between like the cars and stuff. Like that's how it felt with this. Like you got this lab and everyone's just like throwing it around.
And that
it's like
again,
pass the parcel.
It is past the parcel, hot potato, with this lab and stuff. So let's get into the actual plot. We'll get onto that specifically later, but let's get into the plots with the start. So we start the movie 2 years after Scott Lang was placed under house arrest due to his involvement with the Avengers. Of course, the FBI are after him. That plays a major role in the movie.
Yeah. And
that only happened because he violated the Sokovia Accords in another movie. And that's the thing, like, you can do that, but you need to explain it. And this is why I'll give the movie props, because it's honestly good that right at the start, the FBI guy, Jimmy Woo, explains all this stuff to the kid.
Yeah.
Because he's explaining it to us because we're children, or at least I am in this instance, because when you go back and watch these movies, like a few years later, you are not sure of the timeline, of course, and you do need that explanation, don't you?
No, yeah, absolutely, I agree, and it's a good. I mean, what do they call it? It's like when you've got the kind of a fish out of water character, and except in this case, it's a kid, and like that means that you need to get these kind of explanations that summarize what's going on. Yes, and is a clever move.
Yes, and you need that, and you most of the time you'd say that's bad movie making just to have this character exposit a bunch of dialogue, about. Use expositionary dialogue to inform another character of what's going on in the movie and just throw it at the audience. But that's the thing, you need that, and the movie recognizes that, especially if you're rewatching it a few years later. Because I'm starting this movie, I'm like, what the fuck, the Sokovia Accords? Yeah. Well, the Civil War. Oh, okay, now he's explaining. I get it. Yeah. And it could have been done worse too. So again, I appreciate the movie doing that. And that's the problem with having a cinematic universe. Like you got like eventually the lore gets very, very deep. Yes, so you do need to explain stuff at the start. Get it out of the way so we all know where everything stands. It's a necessary evil. So Hank Pym, which is of course Michael Douglas's character, and his daughter Hope Van Dyne. Oh wait, no, the daughter is called Van Dyne.
That's interesting. She took her mum's name.
Yeah, not Pym. Maybe they went through that in the previous movie. I can't remember.
They probably there must be some kind of explanation, probably to do with the fact she misses him or misses her mum. I don't know. Yeah, it seems a bit weird. Did she have a beef with her dad in the first movie? Yeah, I can't really remember.
Doesn't she resent her dad?
She probably does, because he seems like the kind of guy who gets resented a lot.
Yeah, because I don't think he told her what happened to her mum, and I think that's the issue. Yeah, from what I can remember. So she's pissed off at him, and then he reveals it. And it's just like, oh, she died in a heroic way. Yeah,
which to be honest, it is one of those things where it's like, it reminds me of in Simpsons, where Waylon Smithers Sr. dies saving the entire town, and Mr. Burns tells regular Waylon Smithers that he was killed by a tribe of vicious Amazonian women.
Why does he do that? What's the reason?
Well, it's basically just to set up a joke about Smithers being gay. So he's like, I hope it didn't affect you in any way. And he's like, oh, we'll never know.
When did this episode come out?
Season 14, I think, so pretty late.
Yeah, that makes sense, because that seems like a lazy joke.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Yeah, all right, anyway, so Hank Pym, he's trying to open this tunnel to the quantum realm, that's what he's trying to do. And, they both believe Pym's wife, Janet Van Dyne, might be trapped there after shrinking to subatomic levels in 1987. When he had previously visited the quantum realm, Lang had unknowingly become quantumly entangled with Janet, whatever the fuck that means.
Yeah, this is.
And-
I don't think this element of the. I guess I would say I don't really like this element of the film because it just seems kind of unnecessary and confusing and dumb.
Well, you say element. That's the whole fucking movie.
Yes, I
the
guess.
whole movie is built off the fact that
entanglement.
Scott has become quantumly entangled with Janet, so they can find Janet. So if you don't like that, I'm saying it is bullshit. Yes, again, they didn't pay a lot of attention to the plot. The plot idea in general is simple, and the explanations for how they get to Janet, it's just based on they got quantumly entangled.
Yeah.
So he now receives an apparent message from her. We didn't see him get entangled in the first movie. I don't recall that at all. So this just seems like, oh yeah, we'll just say that. Again, it's lazy, but
yeah. I mean, the thing is, like, I can think of like another, like a better, like made up scientific explanation for it, which would be like so let's say that when you shrink, like kind of like certain particles from your body, like kind of separate from your body because of, the fact that like you're in like a lower kind of subatomic level, so the particles just kind of break away, and it could mean that he still has like neurons that are like left in the quantum realm that he's kind of connected to, because like not all of like the particles in his body have like reacted in the same way, and then that means he's still getting like the neurons from the quantum realm and he's like picking it up, so it's like his brain's kind of half in the quantum realm. There we go, that's my made up scientific explanation.
So he'd need to basically be receiving constant messages from Janet over the past few years then, basically.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, you could write around that, yeah. So I know, I like that explanation. It's a bit better than the one they have.
Pay me, Marvel.
So
I
again,
can fix your sci-fi nonsense.
Again, I like how they actually start the movie, of course, with flashbacks to Michael Douglas and his wife when they're stopping a missile from hitting something. And again, I think, oh, thank God they showed that. Because I would have forgotten. Again, they know that people will have forgotten. So I
thought it was a good intro, and it was kind of sad.
Well, obviously that intro was in the first movie.
Oh, I don't remember that intro was in the first movie actually, but I suppose it makes sense it would be.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
So you are right. Yes, good idea on them to include it.
Yes. So you didn't even remember that bit was in the first movie.
Yeah. So it's a bit like how in the Two Towers they start off with Gandalf's death, even though that was in the first movie.
Yeah. So she's saving some people from a missile strike. Janet Van Dyne, and I did look at what missile they were disabling when his wife went into the quantum realm, and it was a Soviet nuclear missile. So yeah, that's how Marvel keeps
warmongering Soviets.
That's how Marvel keeps its relationship with the Pentagon on the up and up. Yeah. Oh yeah, we were saving America from getting nuked, so that's what we did. And it was the damn Soviets. In 1987, apparently, which they were doing their perestroika thing back in the day.
Yes.
So that was a very unlikely time for them to fire a nuclear weapon at the
maybe
United States.
Maybe it was some rebel guys who didn't like perestroika.
Yeah, the rebels. Yeah.
Maybe the Soviets needed to be liberated from those rebels.
Yeah, that classic trope. Anyway, so with only days left of house arrest, Scott Lang contacts Pym about Janet. Again, this is a stupid thing to do when you've got a few days left or whatever.
Yeah.
Despite the strained relationship they have because of Lang's actions with the Avengers, he obviously goes over and sees them. So
you know what? This kind of reminds me, like that whole like joke about like when somebody kind of like gets killed or something. It'll be like, why would they do that when they only had like a few days left until like like the whole thing in
retirement.
I'm just trying to think of the Shawshank Redemption when like the guy gets killed and like why there's no way he killed himself when he was just about to be like free from prison. He only had a few more weeks until he was free. And it's like no one would do that. I like how in this movie you'd be like Scott might do something incredibly reckless and everyone would be like, why would he do that when he was just about to be free? And they'd be like, nope, that is just the kind of thing he would do. That's just how he is.
Yes, and it's bad writing again.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. Look, I mean, I guess you could say he's the kind of guy. He's impulsive, but again, it's made clear throughout the movie he loves his daughter a lot, so there is no reason why he'd risk that. But anyway, right. So obviously, what's interesting is that the events of Avengers: Civil War play a big part in this movie because apparently Scott stole the Ant-Man suit, and then he went to Berlin, and then he caused an international incident, so now he's on house arrest back in the United States. But yeah, Michael Douglas, he did an interview when he was promoting this movie, and he said, I didn't see Civil War, so I was very confused when reading the script, and Scott Lang was like, going to Germany. I was like, I don't remember that from the first movie. When did this happen? Why am I so mad at him? And it's like that. That is Michael Douglas is a man of the people, Yeah. I mean, despite the fact that he supported Michael Bloomberg in the 2020 presidential election, I remember
just got
that.
Michael loyalty. I love Michael Douglas and Michael Bloomberg.
Yeah, and Michael Jackson.
Yes. Especially Michael Jackson.
Yeah, and so him, of course, Scott Lang didn't go to Berlin and piss off Hank Pym in the first one. So he's like, well, I didn't remember him fighting the Avengers, and that must be a constant issue for MCU actors, who actually in the later movies are like, well, why the fuck is my character mad at this character? Like, why in the last movie ended, we were best friends. Now all of a sudden we've got beef. What's going on here?
Yeah, it reminds me of how when Obi-Wan Kenobi was supposed to play, when Ewan McGregor was supposed to play Obi-Wan Kenobi, he apparently had like a reel of all of Alec Guinness's scenes that he would like watch on repeat, so he could learn to do Obi-Wan Kenobi. But like, if you were becoming a Marvel character, you would not want to do that. You'd be like, no, I can't even watch all of my own scenes. Never mind.
Yeah, no, I know. God, imagine. Yeah, you just have to trust the script.
Yeah,
like, this doesn't make sense, but okay, I guess it works in the whole MCU thing. So let's talk about the villains now, Michael, because there is a bunch of villains or antagonists in this movie. I would argue that the FBI are the villains as well, just in general.
Yeah, just in general.
ACAB and all that, but they're definitely an antagonist for the heroes to deal with. So we have the fact that Hope and Pym, obviously, they kidnap Lang, and they're trying to get Janet back from the quantum realm with a quantum tunnel. So they can take a quantum vehicle and quantum retrieve her.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, sounds like a great quantum plan.
They arranged to buy a quantum part needed for the tunnel from quantum market dealer. No, he's just a black market dealer.
Yes.
Sonny Birch. But Birch realizes the potential profit to be made from Pym's research and double crosses them. So again, you point out with a nitpick, he suddenly realizes this woman is not Susan. She's the daughter of Hank Pym, so that's why she's buying up all this stuff. So suddenly he's interested in working with them because he thinks a lot of money can be made. And that's a fine motivation to have. It's a fine reason to be a villain. But obviously you need the fact that you can't just, as soon as Scott Lang shows up, this guy figures things out. Like you say, it's more than a nitpick, I'd say.
You know what would have, the funny thing is, they could have so easily solved that by having him know about Ant-Man and then see Ant-Man with them, and then he'd be like, "Oh, I see Ant-Man's with you now. I know," and then blah blah blah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that could be a good explanation. It'd be better than all the FBI
just happened
agent
to get informed.
Yeah, this FBI agent tipped me off. This Sonny Birch guy, he's a slightly weird character.
Yeah,
I don't know why a guy from like Texas. Why is he in San Francisco?
I think we know why. I think there's a few things that he would not want to be doing in Texas.
Oh, so that is what you're implying.
Yeah.
See, I was thinking the other way. It's like there's no way he'd be in there because everyone from Texas is a straight masculine male.
Oh, yeah, well, there's only two people from Texas, Steers and Queers, and I don't see any horns on him.
Okay, so that's why he's in San Francisco.
Yes, he is gay. That. He does seem like he could be one of those kind of like those gay, like one of those gay cowboys that they got nowadays.
Does he? Okay.
Yeah, he'd be like, I want one of y'all boys to show me a good time. Like one of those kind of like intimidating.
Is this just the power of the dog?
Yeah.
One of so this character should have been in the power of the dog. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, right. So, anyways, that's villain number one. This guy, and he's got a funny accent. So at least he is
the like as a villain, he just feels like he shouldn't, like he's so nothing as a villain, like in terms of like intimidation. No.
He has one level of interest, which is the accent.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, he's got, that's it. Yeah. Doesn't have any superpowers, which of course is funny because he's also probably the person who has is in the best position to have like a legitimate reason to be a villain, because obviously what he wants directly contradicts what Hank Pym would want. Which I don't think is really true for anyone else.
Yeah, I know.
Because even you could say the FBI but even for them, it's literally just because of like a matter of days.
Yeah, think about it. He's Hank Pym wants to get Janet. There's no reason why Sonny Birch would want to get Janet unless you have to write a whole nother thread about why that would be the case. So that's so he can't be the main villain because the end goal for the hero is to get Janet, and this guy does not want that to get that to reach the same end goal. So you need to write another villain in, which we will get to now. So donning the Wasp outfit, Hope fights off Birch and his men until she's attacked by a quantumly unstable masked woman.
Yes.
Wow. Don't you just hate when you're attacked by a quantumly unstable masked woman? God. The wokeists have gone too far now.
I know, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, whatever happened to just regular women?
Well, yeah, even regular masked women,
Yeah.
Now they're all quantumly unstable and masked.
Yeah, can I just say this? Like, personally, I've had it with these quantum mask mandates.
Yes, good one. So Lang tries to help fight off this ghost, but the woman escapes with Pym's lab. So this ghost, I like that, the reveal that she can go through walls and it's not the suit. I kind of like that. That's a nice little twist. But so she reveals herself as Ava Starr, which kind of sounds like a porn star name, honestly.
Yeah, Star. That's a common thing.
Yeah, because obviously porn star, whatever. She's not a porn star because she is an assassin. Because her father, Elias,
not an anal assassin.
Okay, thanks for that. Was one of Pym's former partners who died along with his wife during an experiment that caused her unstable state. So this is. Do you know what I'm going to criticize about the scene, Michael? Which I think is more than a nitpick. Because obviously it's more than a nitpick because it's how the villain is created.
I'm not totally sure. What I was going to guess is just that, like, I don't know. No, actually, I can't really think what it would be.
Okay, so this guy Elias, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's working in his lab doing these dangerous scientific experiments. Why is his daughter and his wife, at this lab with him? Like, it's not their house, and maybe they just visited him, one day, like, hey, how are you doing? We thought we'd visit you at work for some reason, and that would have been an incredible coincidence as well. I don't know why are they hanging around this lab? Why are they doing that? Isn't she meant to be, at school? I don't know. Just seems like a
that's a good point. Yeah, like they need to have some more safety involved.
Yeah.
So they need not to take your kid to work day when they're doing the experimental stuff.
Maybe that was it. It was take your kid to work day. Just of all the days it could happen. Yeah, I don't know why you'd let this kid and her mother, who she doesn't seem to be a scientist, like randomly hang around this dangerous lab. That's dumb. But also when she's telling this story, it's a really long monologue explaining everything.
Yeah, I was thinking that too.
There's some moments in the movie which the movie just spits exposition out at you.
I literally wrote the word monologue to describe. I wrote the massive villain backstory dump monologue. Yes, that literally is what it is.
Yeah, and it's quite lazily done. And that's the thing to stop it from being boring, because Marvel, or like whoever was writing this movie, they were probably like, or maybe Kevin Feige, who's the master of this, he was looking at this movie and was like, wow, this is going to be a really boring scene. We need to liven it up a bit, especially because it's an Ant-Man movie. Scott has to get a call from his daughter, which is apparently an emergency, but it's going to be a joke because she's just looking at her soccer cleats, whatever they're called. And because Marvel, they knew
you got to have something to break the tension.
Yeah, they knew it. Well, it's not just the tension, because it was a dull scene. It was a boring
monotony.
Scene. Yes, and that's the Marvel formula right there. You have to mix in the plot stuff, which is quite dull and boring in general, but then add some like levity and just entertainment to the scene to keep people involved, to keep the audience interested. And that's a perfect encapsulation of that right there. If they ever teach in film schools how to make a Marvel movie, that is the scene right there. Where like what they should teach, not in terms of because it's good.
No,
it's
just
like,
in terms of it's what you do.
That's how they make these movies. So yeah, that's the villain Ava. Actually, let's talk about a bit more about her, because we can say her motivation.
Yes.
Is, to be honest, it's a bit selfish, really.
Yeah, and also, I mean, the thing is, the other issue with it, again, is that this is the example where all they needed to do was communicate, because she needs the lab so she can be fixed. They need the lab so they can get Helen. All that needs to happen is
I think she needs Janet to take her.
Sorry, I said
energy.
Helen. I don't know why I said Helen instead of Janet.
Wow.
Wait, what? Oh, wait, what does she need Janet for?
This was said in the movie, to take her quantum energy.
Yeah, does that?
And then. Did you even watch this? I mean, to be honest, it was a very boring scene. So,
okay.
But we are reviewing this movie, so you should have paid attention. Hank Pym then says, "Are you kidding? That'll rip her apart." Implying that if she takes the quantum energy from Janet, then Janet will be killed.
Oh, okay. And so this was all in the scene that was very boring.
Yeah, which I'm glad to see you paid attention to that.
I might have
I was going to get onto that later in terms of the conflict, but so that's explained. But the thing is here. this character is a very dull villain as well. I mean,
Yes.
Sonny Birch is a shit villain. This is a shit villain as well. Because the thing is, what makes villains interesting is that they're after, they've got a bigger goal, which she just wants to like not die, which isn't that. I mean, that's the thing. At the end, she is saved, which we'll get into. But yeah, it's just oh, is that all she wants? She just wants to not die.
Yeah, it's hard to get invested in.
Yeah, the stakes could be higher, perhaps. Is all I'm saying. But yeah, so let's go back a bit, Michael, because let's go to where Scott Lang shrinks down and becomes a child at the school. Because of course, one of the staples of these Ant-Man movies is stuff gets bigger and smaller. When he shrinks down to being a child in that middle school or elementary, or whatever, and that is something that makes these movies kind of fun because it is standard Marvel stuff. These are the most Marvel movies. You got like a below average plot, some funny one-liners from the quirky male lead character, which is what Paul Rudd does. We saw it with Ant-Man in the first movie. It's the same character. He's a kind of a funny, likable guy, which is kind of standard for Marvel protagonists. So the shifting of the sizes, making things larger or smaller than they should be, is really something that this movie needs. And yeah, it's a little bit of fun in the movie. Without that element, it would be quite a bit worse actually. So thank God they have got that I guess toy to play with at various points in the movie. But you wanted to criticize it, didn't you?
Yeah. Well, I'll start off with a positive, which is I will say that the kind of aspects of like his suit screwing up so that he's like getting bigger and smaller and blah 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 is like an interesting aspect that this film has. I feel like other films have done, like, I guess the other thing I'm thinking of is like the whole thing of Hulk in Infinity War, where he like can't, he can't control his Hulk thing. So I guess they do like to do that, have like something be faulty, so they can't control it, but they do it here, whatever. But yeah, I do have a criticism, which is that they very consistently abandon the rule, and they did this in the last one, but so the rule is that when you shrink in Ant-Man, your mass remains the same, basically meaning your weight, but your body becomes smaller. And obviously they show examples of people doing that, where they're like able to, even though they're really small, beat people up. But there are a lot of examples where they go against it. Of course, they do go against it in the first film as well, the famous example being where he's carrying around a tank on his keychain. But I just wrote 5 examples of when they just completely go against it, which obviously individually one of these would probably be a nitpick, but just together they like abandon the rules so many times. So of course there is picking up and putting down the car, which they do all the time. Obviously, if the car is supposed to be maintaining its mass, it should be as heavy as a car. And then, of course, the most egregious one is the building. It's an entire building, which, again, there's only 2 options. Either it's so light that they can carry it, in which case it should be being blown away when it's like, becomes bigger, or it's, the actual weight of the building, in which case it shouldn't be able to pick it up. When Ant-Man rides an ant, but again, if his weight is supposed to be the same as, his regular weight, he should just crush the ant. And then...
So this is your autism coming into play, Michael, because guess what? Nobody fucking cares. You leave your autistic rants about, fucking...
Well, just to clarify, this is a
weight.
very common criticism of Ant-Man. It's probably the biggest criticism, the fact that they set up this rule and then consistently abandon it.
It shouldn't be the biggest criticism because the plot should be
okay.
Just the shitty plot should be the criticism. But yeah, I'm sorry, you made your point, right?
Well, no, I want to give one last one because this is the opposite direction. It's very important because heretofore I've been complaining about things being so small that they should be very light. This is my final example. Ant-Man becomes very big, which means that he should have 0 density, like no density.
Like your penis.
Very big like my penis. Thanks for the compliment.
No, you said 0 density.
Oh, okay, sorry.
That's what I was referring to.
Yeah, I suppose, is density in the penis really something people look for? I don't know. But he should have 0 density.
If it has 0 density,
he should like float, but instead he sinks. Sort it out.
Okay, right. That's great. That's great. So, well done, Michael. Well done. That's the thing. You don't really criticize movies in detail that often, but when you do, it's very pedantic.
Thank you.
So thanks for that. So, right, back to the plot, back to the actual worst aspect of this movie. So, Ava captures them, our trio of heroes, and Foster enters and reveals that Ava is dying and in constant pain as a result of her condition. Again, she has a couple of weeks to live, Again, it's just, like, I like the twist, a neat little idea that, this Foster guy betrayed them. This character, Ava, Ghost, whatever, she desperately needs to live. And, if she, She needs it now. She couldn't have been dying in like a year's time. It's literally at the same time that Hank Pym is opening this quantum tunnel to the quantum realm. Another lovely coincidence right there. And so, yeah, they plan to cure her using Janet's quantum energy. This is what we were talking about before. So, yeah, Janet has been acquiring quantum energy, and extracting it would help, heal Ava. So this is some scientific bullshit.
Yeah.
Of course, the whole movie is. But this seemed especially like, what the fuck? Like, this quantum energy would save Ava? Like, anyway, whatever. Believing that this would kill Janet, Pym refuses to help them and escapes with Hope, Lang, and also the lab. That's the thing, they spend... I criticize you for not paying attention, but the thing is they spend so little time going over the stakes.
Yeah.
Because I don't know the stakes because nobody goes into it. Like, there's one line from Hank Pym where he's like, "You're mad, that would rip her apart." And Lawrence Fishburne's like, "No, it wouldn't."
Yeah,
and
which is
it.
So again, it's not as bad as I thought it was, which was literally like I didn't even realize there was any conflict between them at all. But yeah, it definitely is true that the conflict is quite underdeveloped.
That's the thing. These quantum rules are just very vague, and you don't know these rules. You don't know. I'd hesitate to say explain it more because that could be boring. But I guess a talented screenwriter could find a way for it to be entertaining and not dull. Obviously, the issue is you don't know whether Ava, extracting this quantum energy will kill Janet.
Yeah.
If she fucking Ava takes her quantum energy, which is bullshit in the first place, whatever. But if she does that, will that kill Janet? Like Lawrence Fishburne, who seemed like a very smart character, he thinks it won't.
Yeah.
Hank Pym, who seems, obviously he's a very smart character, we know that, thinks it will. So we don't know. And we never find out either.
Yeah, so which I guess takes away from the stakes. So it's kind of just like the only basis for it is one of them thinks that it will be bad, the other one thinks it will be fine. So it's kind of like, well, who cares?
So you don't know. So again, the stakes are just diminished from what they could be.
Yeah, the stakes are, wow, this might be a legitimate issue that they're having. This might be a legitimate basis for conflict. Mm-hmm. I wish I knew.
Or it might not be. And Janet could... And literally what happens at the end, Janet gives her quantum energy to Ava. And again, I don't know if it's different from extracting quantum energy or she gives it. I'm not sure. But she gives her quantum energy and it's fine. So it's like this conflict which was set up all along between Ghost and fucking Hank Pym and Lawrence Fishburne and Hank Pym. Apparently, it could be resolved, and it could be resolved without any fuss. So again, this whole major conflict of the movie, the main villain doesn't really need to be the main villain. And again, the movie kind of keeps you in the dark. It's like, oh, maybe there is a conflict. Maybe she actually is villainous and will actually kill Janet. But at the end of the day, no, that's not the case.
Yeah, and I think like the thing that kind of undercuts it is like these are all smart people, and you think like it's just, and obviously none of them are explicitly villainous, so you just think they should be able to just get together and like actually talk this through, and like rather than just all confusing each other. And I know like I guess one of the things is supposed to be, oh, Hank Pym has like a big ego, which I guess does allow them to excuse sometimes him behaving a bit irrationally, but it's just not that entertaining. Yeah,
so opening a stable version of the tunnel, Pym, Hope, and Lang are able to contact Janet, who gives them a precise location to find her, but warns that they only have 2 hours before the unstable nature of the realm separates them for a century. Wow, what another lovely, convenient thing. Oh, you've only got 2 hours, and what happens if we don't get there in 2 hours? It's going to be another century. So, yeah, damn. So I guess it's a race against time again. You can just make, like, of course you can make up your own rules. Of course that's inherent to sci-fi. It just seems over and over again. It's like, it's so convenient how the rules shape out and how things in the plot shape out to mean, oh yeah, this is the time frame. So that gives them a deadline. So there's got to be a lot of drama and action in these last 2 hours, and that's just how it is.
Yeah, so, like that whole century thing, I thought that was nonsense too, and I was like, well, surely there'll be another point, like maybe not in that exact place. It's just so dumb.
100 years.
100 years, yeah. It's like, wow, that's conveniently timed.
And it's a nice round number, not like, I don't know, 73.
That's a good point too, yeah.
I don't know. Did they say maybe a century? I'm not sure, but whatever. So of course, using this is where we get to the truth serum bit. Do you like that funny bit, the truth serum?
Yeah. That's kind of funny. It's very Marvel.
I didn't think it was. That was the point I was making.
Okay, yeah. I mean, yeah, I get you. Yeah, it's not. So it's like the whole. Oh, it sounds like it's truth serum, but it's not truth serum. Well, it seems like truth serum. Oh man, it is. Yeah.
And in the previous scene, we had Janet being in Paul Rudd's body. You know.
Oh
saying,
yeah, that was dumb.
Well, I don't think it was necessarily dumb. I mean, the whole movie's dumb, so it's not dumber than the rest of the movie. But like, I was expecting some like comedy because it's like Paul Rudd's saying, "Oh, I love you." What does she call Evangeline Lilly?
Yeah, like
Is it
Honey Bear or something? I don't know.
I think it's Jelly Bean.
Jelly Bean, yeah.
Yeah, which, you know, fucking Scott's got a nickname for his kid as well, which is Peanut. You can't just call the kid by their name, can you?
No,
have to have
yeah.
a nice, cute little nickname for them. But yeah, and I was expecting some like comedy, like, oh, it's so weird to have you say that to me. And it's like so weird that, you know, Paul Rudd's holding fucking Michael Douglas's hands. But no, they just don't do that.
Yeah, I was thinking that too. Like, they don't really, they play it like very serious.
Yeah, it's treated very sincerely, which is weird considering the tone of the movie. But anyway, you know, the truth serum bit. So Sonny Birch learns of the trio's location from Lang's business partner, Luis. And you got Dave and Kurt, who you definitely knew their names, didn't you?
Yeah, why not?
And informs a contact at the FBI. So these guys, they're kind of useless in this plot, apart from this one thing, because you know, they're not in it at all. So at least they serve this function, to allow the main characters or the main villains to play past the parcel with the lab. So you know, that's good, right, Michael?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, they're not useless entirely. And that's the thing, is at this point in the movie where you realise, you know, everyone is just chasing this lab. Everyone is after this transportable lab, and it ends up being this kind of MacGuffin device. And all these characters, you know, it's a MacGuffin device, so all these characters can just do stuff in the movie. Like, they look for it, you know, they're doing investigating, or they're trying to steal it. They're trying to stop them from stealing it, you know, they're trying to stop the steal. So all the characters can just do this shit, and it's inherently entertaining, and it's just like, oh yeah, this isn't just that. It's not that engaging, you know, like, it's not that interesting, is it? Which again is what we've been saying throughout, isn't it?
No, yeah, absolutely. I found it very kind of boring and hard to get invested, just in terms of like, oh, who's going to get the lab? And like, also, you know, like, I mean, I know this is like the case for a lot of movies, but it's also worth noting, obviously, you know, that it's going to end up in working out, which I guess like that's one of the things, like, it's one of those movies that relies a lot on the characters just being frustrated, in that, like, just, you know, they're going to get there eventually, but it's like, oh wait, they've got to do this thing in the meantime. And it kind of feels like, rather than, it's like the resolution is very obvious and easy, so they just have to throw a bunch of shit in the way just to interfere. Yeah,
but at least like for Sonny Birch, that's, I will say that again, that's a guy who, this character, he just wants to take the lab, he wants to steal it. So you have to, you know, there's not going to be a resolution, like you're not going to shake hands with him. So therefore, he has to be an antagonist, okay, but again, like, it's just, he just wants to take the lab. And that's all he wants. And again, he wants to take the lab, and what's he going to do with it? He's going to sell it.
Yeah.
So, and you don't know how, you know, if he maybe he's selling it to a person who's going to do some good with it. Like, you know, probably not. But again, the stakes really aren't that high either for that, for his villain, his villainous motivation either. So yeah. Anyway, Lang rushes home before Wu can see he is violating his house arrest. Now, again, you have these scenes with him, you know, these moments of levity with Scott, often involving his kid. They need to, you know, have that, because that's an essential part of his character. It also works with, you know, some comedic relief. But anyway, we're back to obviously the lab and shit, because Pim and Hope are arrested by the FBI, and then Ava takes the lab. You know, the lab's in three. You know, it's with them, it's with the FBI, then it's with Ava. You know, it's like a hot potato, isn't it, Michael? That's what it is. You know, or what did you say? Pass the parcel with this lab. Yeah, and there's this part in the movie you probably don't remember. It's edited really badly. So like Ava, you know, she takes this lab, and two agents off screen, clearly, this dialogue was added after shooting. They say, "We have an agent down, and Pim's lab has been taken." Yeah, and that's it's just like really shoddy. So yeah, I just thought I'd bring that up.
Yeah. It just shows that they're like trying to fill in just how nonsense it is.
Yes, indeed, yes. I mean, but that's the thing. I think it's there's a lack of effort there. You know, that's what I'd say. There's a lack of effort. So Lang is soon able to take Pim and Hope and escape custody, and obviously then they find the lab. The ant. We need to talk about the ants, I guess, because the ants also add another fun dimension. You know, another fun element, like the shrinking thing, which of course you criticised because you're an autist, but I'm fine with it. And you're going to criticise the fact that ants shouldn't be able to, you know, I don't know, move that quickly. What's it going to be with the ants, Michael? How are you going to?
Well, the ants, because of their mass, they shouldn't be able to knock people over, because they should just have the size of ants. So there we go.
This is the whole mass thing.
Yeah. The mass is the only thing that matters. Actually, when I think about it, I bet like, I suppose, okay. When you think about it, I mean, there is like the whole other thing, and this doesn't matter. Like, this I genuinely don't care about, but obviously, like, the reason why ants can't get that big is like anatomical. It's to do with the way they breathe.
You mean anatomical? See, I'm surprised you didn't get that because that was right there.
Yeah, it's quite funny.
It's not funny,
but yeah, because like it's one of those things where like obviously they never actually do anything. Am I right in saying they never do anything about the fact like ants can lift 10 times their own body weight? Like they never do anything with that.
I don't think they do. Maybe they did stuff in the last movie.
Yeah, which is funny because if they did, then I could say, well, the reason they could lift 10 times their own body weight is because they're so small, and if you like scaled them up, that they wouldn't remain the same level of strength. But I don't have to say that because they didn't even bother.
Good stuff.
Yeah, so my criticism is that they didn't have a thing in there that I could have criticised.
All right, good stuff. So Lang and Hope are confronted by Birch and his men, and following a lengthy chase around San Francisco, and I cut the Wikipedia bit off there. Wow, a lengthy chase. I mean, this is just an utterly pointless chase, but it means that this Birch guy, he can be in the movie at the end. And again, who is he selling this lab to for $1 billion? We don't know because the movie doesn't care. I mean, he doesn't really need to be in the film, does he? I think that's my conclusion. And he's just there because I guess they needed another villain because otherwise they'd realise the plot was too thin without him. So they just chuck another villain in there. I genuinely think that might have been how this plot came into being. And yeah, you're playing hot potato past parcel whatever with this lab, and then you're playing it with the remote as well. Remember, they need the remote then.
Yes.
That's another MacGuffin.
Yeah, I remember when it happened, thinking, oh, it's just another thing.
Yeah, they need another thing now. Okay, great. And that takes like 20 minutes, And honestly, the chase scenes, they aren't great, but I guess Ant-Man gets really big again and becomes Giant Man, so that's fun. So there you go. That's something that you hate, of course, because it's not.
Yep, hate it because he shouldn't sink. He should float.
Yeah, but there you go. That's Ant-Man. So Ava regains control of the or Giant Man, I should say. Yeah.
Yes.
So Ava regains control. What?
Yeah, it's
so
kind of
Ant-Man,
stupid that he's called Ant-Man, even though he can go big or small.
I was he can go small a lot easier than big.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that's the thing. But when he should just be called Normal Man when he's just walking around.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. Like they're calling him Ant-Man when he's just like. To be fair,
yeah.
I mean, like in that sense, why aren't we Ant-Man? Just because we're not currently small doesn't mean
I mean, I'm not sure that works as well, but okay. So Ava regains control of the lab, of course. Again, the lab is again in the possession of 3 people in this chase scene. Sonny Birch has it. The good guys have it, and then fucking Ava gets it. So yeah, that's great, and it allows her to begin taking Janet's energy by force. So they have Louise, Dave, and Kurt incapacitate Birch and his men, so that Lang and Hope can save Ava. Again, they have like a minimal plot function, so that's good for them. Pym and Janet return safely from the quantum realm, and Janet voluntarily gives some of her energy to Ava to temporarily stabilize. Okay, so it's only temporarily.
Oh.
Did they say that in the movie? Maybe I forgot,
maybe.
honestly, because it was the end of the movie.
Yeah.
I was rolling my eyes. It was like, oh, great. So all this conflict, it could have been resolved like that, great. So yeah, it's only temporary. So she still has to be a villain or a hero, perhaps actually, she hasn't appeared in future Marvel properties. Actually.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was it. And so yeah, nobody dies. And the villain is saved by these vague quantum realm powers, which were never defined.
Yeah.
And so the conflict in the first place didn't really need to happen. So great, a very unsatisfying ending. So wonderful job for those 2 reasons. Lang returns home once again, and it's just in time for a now suspicious Wu to release him at the end of the house arrest. He's fine.
Fool him once, shame on me. I mean, shame on you. Fool him twice,
yes.
Shame on Wu.
I wonder if when writing this movie, they wrote out the plot and then were like, right, we need to put these scenes with Wu and Scott Lang in at various points to just break things up, just to make things not that.
I feel like this was a movie that kind of like it was put together the way like you would write an essay about a topic you hadn't really researched for. Like you kind of write it and you're like, okay, is that enough? No. Okay, let me like look into something else. Can I try this topic? Okay, maybe this will work.
Yes, I'm not sure, but anyway, Ava and Foster. Wait, who's Foster? Oh, that's Lawrence Fishburne's character. They go into hiding. So yeah, they go into hiding to return. Even though I'm not sure they are returning in Ant-Man Quantumania. So yeah, there you go. There is Ant-Man and the Wasp. You conclude first, Michael.
Okie dokie. So, let's see. The main strength of this film is that it is entertaining with some of the comedic stuff. Like you're kind of like it's not too difficult to have fun with this film. It's not like completely tedious. Like, I think if this film didn't have any sense of fun, it would be so much worse. And yeah. Oh, and I guess like the whole kind of mechanic of it is kind of interesting. Obviously, the single worst thing about the film is the inconsistency regarding the rules relating to mass when changing size, which I think everybody agrees on. But apart from that, obviously, a lot of the plot is just filled with conveniences, and the villains just aren't that interesting. Like, none of them, and the central conflict isn't that interesting. And I think like definitely the more we've talked about this film, the more it's become like the worse the film has seemed in a way. Like, I feel like I had a more positive feeling about this film before we spoke about it than I do now. And like when you really put it all in perspective, you're like, oh, there's quite a few bad things. So I gave the original film a 5. I was like, oh, I'm probably going to knock it one below and say it's a 4. I'm now thinking, based on all the stuff we've said and like just how rubbish the whole kind of villain situation is and the kind of stakes of the plot in general, I'm going to say it's a low 4. I was considering saying, it's just below the previous film.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I'll say I think Yellow Jacket from the last film, I felt like I preferred him as a villain, not because he was that interesting, but just because he was kind of like, he was simple in like a way where you could kind of understand him.
Well, yeah, I mean, he wanted to do something which, was in conflict with the heroes of the movie.
Yeah, the only other thing I'd say actually is just that like the whole kind of like, it's all centered around this quantum stuff, but the quantum stuff isn't really explained, so it kind of just comes across like magic, where you're just like, oh, I guess that can happen now.
There's even more bullshit than in the first movie. So yeah, I think you got worse villains, a worse plot, I think, because of the worst villains that ties into it, and also you've got some bullshit with the quantum realm, which I think is just worse than the first movie. So yeah, overall on those 3 counts, that's why I'm dropping it from 6 to a 4 out of 10 as well. And again, I think 4 out of 10 for me is probably where I'd rank most Marvel movies. Yeah, so yeah, like 2 stars, 4 out of 10. Like not the worst thing ever, but not as offensive.
Nothing to write home about.
Yes, not as offensive as they could be, but still pretty bad.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's pretty much it. So yeah, let's have a guess at what Ant-Man is going to get on Rotten Tomatoes, or Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, of course. That's what I'm referring to. So our first guess of the year, of course, last year with our Rotten Tomatoes predictions, Michael, I won. I won by 14 points at the end of the day. I won by 35 points. I won by 35. 156 to 121. Highest score is worse. So yeah, let's see if we can do better.
See, it's interesting what you've said about like this is supposed to be like a special, like this is supposed to be a crazy movie. Because that seems, I mean, I just don't know. Because like that means maybe they'll do something crazy.
Well, I'll give you, so Kang the Conqueror is in this movie. He was a time-traveling multi-adversary trapped in the quantum realm who needs pin particles to get his ship and a device online that would allow him to go anywhere and when in time. And he is described as a top-tier A-list Avengers villain by Quantum Mania writer Jeff Loveness. So
Kang the Conqueror. I want to look this guy up. Okay, yeah, he looks pretty... Okay, he doesn't look as goofy as I thought he would. Okay, fine. I've got a number in my head.
So let's guess in 3, 2, 1...
82.
84.
Okay.
Okay, well, there we go then. 82 for you, 84 for me. And what about the box office, Mike? How much do you think this is going to gross? Because, we're not going to... This isn't going to, cost... Well, we'll just have a discussion. It's not going to be a competition here. Because the first one, 550. The second one, I think, 622. So this one, it's the biggest movie yet, and Ant-Man has got a bigger profile. I'm going to say probably around... But I don't think the movie is going to be that great. Maybe it will be. Honestly, maybe it will be. Maybe they put a lot of effort into it, and maybe it's going to be really something. I'm going to say 725 million.
Well, that's interesting, because I'm looking at this. Black Panther Wakanda Forever, according to this, I just found Box Office Mojo, and it says Black Panther Wakanda Forever has only made 450 million. But
is that just domestic though?
I'm wondering if that is just domestic. Like,
I think you're being retarded and that's just domestic.
No, I think I was thinking that too. I wasn't being retarded. I was just saying.
Okay.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah.
842.
Yeah, I just found it. Yeah. Okay. So did you say 700 million?
725.
725. I'm gonna go for 650.
Well, again, it's not a competition.
Yeah, but I'm gonna go for 650.
It's just a discussion.
No, yeah, okay. Yeah. So anyway. It's just so we're talking about. All right. Yeah. I mean, it's a weird one because, like, who cares about these films?
Well, Marvel fans do. Like, that's the thing. Marvel have generated... It's such a big brand that, like, Ant-Man can get, a second sequel and it can generate this much. And again, they're clearly putting a lot of effort into this compared to the others. So that's why I'm like, it's going to be a bit of a bump, but not too much,
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those weird things because I guess that there's two elements. On the one hand, like, could they just be like it's one of those things where like they're saying like, oh, this will be like a completely new thing, like this will be crazy, this will be this massive thing, and then like is there a possibility that they're just what's the word, like blowing smoke, and like actually it's just gonna be like, it's gonna come out and it's just gonna be like the most typical generic Marvel film ever, which is a possibility.
Nah, I mean, I doubt that's the case. The worry is that they're going to be like, oh yeah, Ant-Man, this is going to be a big blockbuster. You know, the Ant-Man finally, you know, it's not one of those cute little, you know, funny movies. You know, this is going to be a real MCU movie. That's what.
And
his
it will
writers
lose
were
its
saying.
appeal.
Yeah, exactly. It'll lose its appeal because it's like, well, that's not what we go to the cinema to see when we're watching Ant-Man.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyway, Michael, what are we reviewing next week?
Next week we are reviewing Dun 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 Dune.
Yes, we are reviewing Dune because we're back reviewing the movies that got nominated for Best Picture at last year's Oscars. So join us for that. Who have you been, Michael?
I've been Michael.
I've been Luke. Thanks for listening to our Ant-Man and the Wasp review, and bye.
Goodbye.